Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. From Mill Pond to Beacon Hill, we covered a lot of ground in our discussions this past week on Barnstable This Morning. We begin our look back on some of the week's most interesting perspectives with our water protection segment from Tuesday, April 12th. Three Bays Preservation Executive Director Lindsay Council joined us to discuss the Town Council's approval of funds to dredge Mill Pond in Marston's Mills. Freshwater ponds play an important role in protecting our coastal water bodies from nitrogen loading, and Mill Pond is no exception. In fact, Lindsay told us that dredging the pond could eliminate the need to sewer hundreds of homes, leading to a huge cost savings.
Well, freshwater ponds are what are called nitrogen sinks. In other words, the nitrogen that passes through them from septic systems, fertilizers, road runoff is absorbed by the sediments in the pond. And in the case of Mill Pond, for example, right now it's removing about 30% of the nitrogen that comes in from the upper watershed. And through dredging the pond, we hope to be able to improve that to as much as 52%, which will mean a considerable improvement in water quality that the river carries into Warrens Cove and Princess Cove.
How crucial does Mill Pond end up being to the Three Bays watershed in terms of the impact that it can make? I know you said that it can remove a fair bit of the nitrogen that comes down gradient towards the bays, but I mean, how does this translate into sewering that might not need to happen? Can you quantify the impact in some other way?
Yes, we can. If you were to leave Mill Pond as it is, and not try to improve its water quality, its nitrogen removal, as I mentioned, at 30%, you would need to sewer approximately 425 homes in the three sub-watersheds that feed into the Marston's Mills River and then into the Mill Pond. Mm-hmm. If you were to get, through this restoration project, an 11% increase in that nitrogen reduction in the pond, you could cut the amount of homes that need to be sewered down to 213.
Wow.
About half.
Wow.
And if you can get to 52% reduction, which is the target, you would preclude any need to sewer any of those homes in that upper watershed. Now, translating that into dollars, if you take a cost of $35,000 a home, which is a figure that the town's consultants has used for some of these outer areas of town, no change to the pond means you're going to invest $15 million in sewering. If you can get to 41% nitrogen reduction, you would save the equivalent of $7.5 million. And if you can reach the target reduction of 52%, you would not need to sewer at all. So you have potential of saving $15 million.
The Massachusetts House Ways and Means Committee released its version of the fiscal year 2012 state budget this week. The House budget would slash local aid by over 7%, which won't hurt Barnstable due to some cautious financial planning by Finance Director Mark Milne. In fact, it would appear that Milne's projection of a 10% cut to school aid will lead to a school budget surplus, as the House vowed to boost Chapter 70 funds by $120 million statewide.
2012, these numbers look pretty good. So what it will do for us, again, we already have a budget established.
Right.
For the school department.
Right.
The school committee's already set a budget. So now we have this extra money, if it does come, then what it will create for us is some flexibility. Going into the following year's budget, if we don't decide to come back and modify the municipal and school budgets this year, going into 2012, we can essentially bank that and go and use that towards our budget development for 13, which looks like, it's probably, for all intents and purposes, is going to be another challenging year.
Yeah.
Because there's no indications that show that this economy is going to recover dramatically in the next 12 months.
Do you have any rough figures for us as to how much money could theoretically come back to the town or as a result of our overly conservative estimate and these numbers now?
Yeah, it's about $700,000.
Wow, that's significant. Okay.
Yeah, it's what the Chapter 70 is, because we're, a 10% cut was about $700,000. They're actually adding about $30,000 to it, so it's a little more than $700,000 is what we're talking about. But and that would be, with the budgets established already the way they are, that would provide us a great deal of flexibility going into the fiscal year 13 budget development, because we'd be starting in the good with 700 as opposed to, a negative amount if we used, in the past years. Remember, a few years ago we used a great deal of free cash to balance the operating budget, which started you in the hole the next year. So, this is a huge swing in the right direction.
Just minutes later on our Thursday show, State Representative Demetrius Atzelis joined us to talk more about the House budget and its plans to cut local aid while boosting funds for public schools.
We made a commitment that we don't want to cut Chapter 70. So when you say you don't want to cut somewhere, and it's actually, let's back up. When we say that we not only we want to cut Chapter 70, which is school-age funding for those who don't know, that we also want to put additional money into it. The money has to come from where? It has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And, here in Barnstable, we get a small percentage of our total budget from the state. But, any additional funds for our schools are necessary. Now, does that mean, since we're not getting the local aid back for our roads, some of our bridges, we'll have to spread money out over a longer period of time to get creative in funding? The town might have to do that. But I really hope we don't see a spike in our property taxes to pay for this local aid cut that is being spread across the entire state, because that would really decimate our town.
Now, Demetrius, you mentioned that the House has chosen to increase Chapter 70 funding and the circuit breaker funding for special education as well. And just a few minutes ago, Mark Milne told us that would equate, because of the conservative projections that he had made, that we'd see a 10% cut in Chapter 70 funding to over $700,000 being added to the school budget, whether it be this year or for the next fiscal year.
Right.
So we come out looking pretty good as far as that's concerned.
Well, and that's again, I applaud Mark Milne and under John Clem's direction that you plan for the worst. How many communities that I have seen that do not plan for the worst, and then boom, the lead balloon falls? Well, they should know better. They've been warned. Our town has been doing this now for probably 5 years, planning for the worst-case scenario, and then seeing what happens. And isn't it nice now that you say you can plug back, $700,000 back into the system to be used?
Yeah. April vacation week is here, and if you're looking for something to keep your kids busy, why not have them dig up something for dinner? That's right. The town of Barnstable's annual Clamming Class for kids takes place during vacation week, and Natural Resource Officer Amy Rado joined us on Friday, April 15th, to talk about what's become quite a springtime tradition here in town.
Actually, our 9th annual Clamming Class for kids. I've been a participant. This is my 6th year, so got a pretty good handle on it at this point. And we invite any children, any age, so long as they, want to go play on the beach for a certain amount of time.
That's a tough sell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to get the kids to go to the beach. To come and learn how to shellfish, whether it be for soft-shell clams or for quahogs. It's a really, really, really great time. We always offer it during April vacation to try to accommodate for families that, have to work. Typically, they have a little bit more time off when their kids are on vacation. So we invite really the entire public to come, and we've always had a really, really good turnout. So
now let's talk a little bit about dates and times, Amy.
Okay, well, our first class will be next Wednesday, April 20th. We're holding the class at Cordwood Landing, which is in Katuitt. It's located off of Old Post Road, which you can get to either via Route 28 or Putnam Ave. And we'll be meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning on that Wednesday. And then on Saturday, April 23rd, we'll be meeting at 10:30 in the morning, also at Cordwood Landing in Katuitt.
Very good. And does it cost anything?
It does not. We do ask that the accompanying adults have a valid shellfish permit.
Okay.
But if that is an issue for families, say if you're not an avid shellfishing family and you just wanted to come out for the one day, we do have a large force of volunteers, all of whom are licensed in the town to recreationally shellfish, that oftentimes give up their weekly catch to the families that do not have a permit so they can take something home that day.
Remember, if you'd like to watch any of these complete interviews, full-length episodes of BTM are available to watch online. You can stream them for free from the town's video archives at town.barnstable.ma.us. Well, that's all for now. Everybody have a great Patriots Day weekend. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.